You might think your dog just wants to be cozy, that it's all about soft blankets and warm feet. But what if there's something more behind the way they curl up next to you each night? Maybe you've woken up at 2 a.m. to find that little body pressed right against yours, steady breathing, keeping rhythm with your own. Is it comfort habit? Or something much deeper, something instinctual, ancient, emotional? In the next few minutes, we're going to look at 5 powerful reasons why your dog chooses your bed night after night. And I'll bet number 3 will stay with you long after the video ends. So let's begin, not with science or training tips, but with a moment. The first time your dog, maybe a rescue, maybe nervous, finally climbed into your bed and didn't leave. You remember that night, don't you? Reason 1, it's a survival instinct they still carry. Long before your dog had a name, a collar, or a memory foam bed, their ancestors slept in circles, close together, nose to tail, one ear always listening. Survival meant staying close to the pack, because out there in the dark, anything could happen. That instinct hasn't gone away. No matter how cozy your living room is, or how many toys are in the basket, dogs are wired to sleep, where they feel most secure. And when your dog presses up against you at night, that's their ancient brain saying, "This is my pack. This is where I'm safe." There's actually science to back this up. A 2022 study on canine attachment found that dogs who are emotionally bonded to their humans spend more time in deep restful sleep, especially when they're near them. That's called NREM sleep. It's the kind that lets them truly relax, not just doze with one eye open. Which means that when your dog chooses your bed, they're not just looking for comfort. They're finally letting their guard down. Have you ever noticed how your dog sleeps with their back to you, or stretches their legs out and sighs before drifting off? That's trust. That's survival turned into affection. And here's a question for you. Where does your dog sleep when you're not home? On your side of the bed, curled up in your laundry. It's not random. It's the scent, the space, the safety. You are the center of their world. If this part of the story reminds you of your dog, drop a comment below and tell me their name. I want to know who's the guardian curled up beside you every night. Now let's talk about something even more powerful than instinct. Let's talk about trust. Reason 2, it's how they say, "I trust you with my life." You didn't ask them to. You didn't train them to. But one night, they did it anyway. Quietly, without a sound, they climbed into your bed, circled once, and curled into the crook of your knees. That moment, whether it happened a month after adoption or after years of sleeping apart, meant something. See, in the wild, sleeping next to another being meant risking everything. Because in sleep, you're vulnerable. So when a dog chooses to sleep beside you, it's not just routine. It's a declaration, "I trust you with everything I am." There's science here, too. When dogs feel emotionally close to a human, their brains release oxytocin, the same hormone that bonds a mother to her baby. It's what makes them sigh when you pet them, what makes them melt into your chest after a long day. That's not just comfort. That's biology saying, "You're my safe place." And they know you. Dogs are incredibly attuned to human emotion. A shift in your voice, a sigh you didn't realize you let out the way you sit, just a little heavier on the edge of the bed, they feel it. And they respond. Sometimes they respond by simply being there, by leaning against your shoulder without a word. Have you ever had a night where you didn't want to talk to anyone but your dog stayed right beside you anyway? That wasn't by chance. That was emotional loyalty. That was their quiet way of saying, "You don't have to explain. I'm here." And maybe that's why, for some of us, the first time a rescue dog finally chooses to sleep with us, we cry. Not because we trained them, but because they chose us back. Has your dog ever done that? Given you that quiet gift of trust? Tell me below, because the first time it happens, it stays with you forever. And just wait until you hear what's really happening when your dog lies on your pillow. It's not about fluff. It's about scent territory and something far more primal. Reason 3. Your bed smells like home to them. We think of comfort as softness. Pillows, blankets, warmth. But to your dog, comfort is scent. It's the one thing that never lies. Your smell is how they find you in a crowd, how they know when you're sad, and yes, how they choose where to sleep. A team of researchers once gave dogs 2 identical beds, same shape, same material, but one carried the owner's scent and one didn't. Overwhelmingly, the dogs chose the one that smelled like their person. Not because it was softer, not because it was warmer, but because it felt like home. When your dog lays on your pillow or nestles into the corner of your blanket, they're doing more than seeking fluff. They're surrounding themselves with you. Your scent tells them you're near even when you're not. It calms their heartbeat, slows their breathing, lets them sleep with both eyes closed for once. This matters even more for rescue dogs or those with anxiety. They've known instability. They've known fear. And when they find something safe, when they find you, they don't want to let it go. That's why you'll often find them curled up in your dirty laundry or burrowed under the sheets you just washed yesterday. It's not about cleanliness, it's about connection. And here's something even more beautiful: when they sleep next to you night after night, your scents begin to mix. You become part of their world chemically, biologically. That shared scent becomes a signal to their brain. We belong together. Have you ever caught your dog carrying your sock into their bed? Or burying their face in your old t-shirt? If you have, tell me in the comments. Those tiny moments, they're proof of something deep, something wordless. And speaking of warmth, let's talk about one of the most powerful reasons your dog seeks you out each night. It has to do with biology, but also with healing. Reason 4. Your warmth is healing. Have you ever noticed how no matter the season, your dog finds the warmest spot in the room and stays there? Sometimes it's by the heater. Sometimes it's under the blanket you just used. But most often, it's right next to you. That's not just comfort seeking. That's biology. Dogs naturally run a bit hotter than we do, around 101 to 102.5 Feuder. But what most people don't realize is that warmth for a dog isn't just about temperature. It's about safety, about regulation. Especially for young, small, or anxious dogs, your body heat calms their system, helps them settle. There's research from Johns Hopkins showing that close contact, like cuddling a dog, lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, and increases oxytocin. That calming effect isn't just one way. It goes both directions. When your dog curls against you, they feel safe. And whether you notice it or not, your body does too. This is even more powerful when your dog comes from trauma. I have heard stories, maybe you've lived one of rescue dogs who wouldn't let anyone touch them for weeks. But one night, they tiptoe over. Just a paw on your leg. Then, the next night, they stay longer. And one day, they curl into your chest like they've always belonged there. It's not just warmth. It's healing. It's saying, this feels right. This feels safe. Some breeds are wired for this more than others. A husky might sprawl at the foot of the bed, content in the cold. But a chihuahua, a rescue mix with no undercoat, they'll burrow into your side like their life depends on it, because maybe once it did. So let me ask, has your dog ever tucked themselves so close you could feel their heartbeat? Has that quiet contact ever helped you fall asleep when nothing else could? Tell me in the comments. These aren't just dog habits. They're love stories. But here's the part that surprises people most. Sometimes your dog doesn't sleep next to you because they need something. Sometimes it's because they've chosen something better than their own bed. Reason 5. Your bed is more than just soft, it's love. You bought them the fancy bed. Orthopedic foam, raised sides, soft cover that says machine washable in big letters. But every night, like clockwork, they ignore it. They jump onto yours, head on your pillow, back pressed against your spine. And you wonder why. Because your bed is more than a mattress to them. It's where you are, and where you are feels like love. Dogs are territorial. Not in the possessive way we sometimes fear, but in the emotional sense. In the wild, they chose sleeping spots, carefully ones that kept them close to the pack, with clear sight lines and scent markers that said, "This is my safe space." Now, your bed is that space. They're not just drawn to it for comfort. They're drawn to it for identity, for connection. When they lie on your sheets, your pillow, your blanket, they're not just borrowing softness. They're participating in something shared, something sacred. And for many older owners, maybe for you, that's where the bond becomes unspoken. You didn't ask them to come up. You didn't pat the bed. But one night, they just appeared. Quiet, calm, chose your space, and never left. There's even data behind this. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that while dogs might shift during the night, most owners feel more rested when their dogs are close. Not because sleep was perfect, but because the presence of that small heartbeat, that steady breath, gave them peace. And maybe that's what this is all about. Not dominance, not convenience, but peace, shared night after night. So let me ask you, did your dog claim your bed right away? Or did it take months? Did it happen suddenly or slowly, one paw at a time? Tell me. I'd love to know how you became their safe place. And now that we've gone through the reasons, let's bring this home. Because this story, it ends where it began, with a choice your dog made and the quiet love behind it. So now you know, when your dog curls up next to you every night, it's not just about softness. It's not just about warmth. It's instinct. It's memory. It's biology. But most of all, it's love. That spot on the bed, it's a statement. This is where I'm safe. This is who I belong to. Think back to the very first night they stayed beside you. The night they finally stopped pacing, stopped checking. The door stopped flinching at every sound. The night they sighed, really sighed, and sank into sleep beside you. That moment wasn't about training. It wasn't about comfort. That was about trust, loyalty, and maybe even healing on both sides. Because maybe you needed them just as much. And here's the thing about dogs: they don't fake it. They don't pretend. When they choose to be close, it's real. No games, no conditions, just presence. Not everyone is lucky enough to be chosen by a dog like that. But if your dog sleeps beside you night after night, no matter the weather, no matter the space, you were chosen. And that's not a small thing. So I'd love to know, where does your dog sleep? Have they always curled up close? Or was it something they grew into as the bond deepened? Drop a comment below and share your story. I read every one. Because these aren't just routines. They're moments that tell us who we are to them. And in the next video, we'll go even deeper. I'll show you what your dog's sleeping position says about how they feel about you and what they might be trying to tell you without saying a word. If this story resonated with you, stay with me. There's more to uncover together. Have you ever looked at your dog sleeping and wondered if there's more behind the way he curls up, sprawls out, or presses against you at night? In today's video, we're breaking down the most common dog sleeping positions and uncovering the real meanings behind them. Every pose carries a hidden message about trust, comfort, or even pure love. And when we reach the fourth position, you'll discover a behavior so simple, yet so powerful, it reveals a love that's unshakable. So let's begin not with science alone, but with the moment you've seen countless times your dog curled into a fuzzy bagel. You've probably seen it countless times, your dog tucking his paws neatly under his chest, curling his body tight until his nose nearly touches his tail. To you, it might just look like a cozy ball of fur. But what does this classic donut position really mean? Why does your pup sometimes choose to curl up this way instead of stretching out across the couch? The truth is, this posture carries more than one story. When your dog curls like this, he's protecting his vital organs the way his ancestors did out in the wild. It's nature's way of saying, stay safe, stay warm. That's why you often see it on chilly nights or during the colder months. But here's the fascinating part. Many dogs still choose this position, even when the room is warm and safe. And that's where the deeper layer comes in. Could it be that curling tight is more than survival? Could it be a sign of how your dog balances instinct with comfort in your home? If you've ever noticed your pup sleeping like this after a long, exhausting day, think of it as his way of recharging while still holding on to a sense of security. And for someone like you who sees your dog as more than just a pet, it's a quiet reminder, even in the safety of your home, your dog's heart still carries echoes of the wild. Doesn't it make you wonder how much of his behavior is instinct and how much is trust in you? Now here's something to keep in mind. Just because your dog curls up doesn't mean he's anxious or unhappy. In fact, happy dogs love this position simply because it's snug and comfortable, like a favorite blanket. But notice the contrast. What does it mean when he does the opposite? When he flips over, belly up, paws stretched to the sky. That's a completely different message, one that has everything to do with confidence, trust, and the kind of bond most owners dream of. And that, my friend, is where we're heading next. And then there's the one that makes you laugh every single time, the belly-up sprawl legs sticking out in every possible direction. You walk into the room, and there he is, flat on his back paws, frozen mid-air, looking more like he's auditioning for a comedy show than getting rest. But here's the question. You've probably asked yourself, what does this dog sleeping position really mean? Is it just comfort? Or is there something more behind that vulnerable display? When a dog exposes his belly, he's doing the very thing instinct normally tells him not to. Out in the wild, this is the softest, most defenseless part of the body, and no animal would ever sleep this way if they felt threatened. For your dog to choose this pose, it means one thing above all else: he trusts you completely. He trusts your home, your presence, your care, enough to let go of every guard. Isn't that a remarkable thought? That this goofy pose that makes you chuckle might actually be your dog's most powerful declaration of love? There's also a practical side. Dogs release heat more easily through their belly and paws. On warmer days, when the air feels heavy, your pup might flop on his back simply to cool down. But isn't it interesting that cooling down and showing trust go hand in hand? One is physical comfort, the other emotional safety, and both only happen in a place where he feels secure. Think about it. If your dog regularly sleeps belly up in your living room, what is he saying to you without words? Isn't it his way of declaring, I belong here, and I know you'll keep me safe? And doesn't that make you see this silly sprawl in a new light, not just as a pose, but as a message of confidence that's uniquely yours? Now here's something even more intimate. As open as this belly-up sprawl is, there's another sleeping style that speaks just as strongly, but in a quieter, warmer way. It happens when your dog presses against you or curls back to back, like you're part of his pack. What does that mean for your bond? Let's take a closer look. There's a special kind of warmth you feel when your dog presses his body right up against yours, maybe at the foot of the bed, or curled tightly along your back on the couch. At first, you might think it's just about sharing body heat, but is it really that simple? Why would your dog choose to sleep back to back with you when he could have the whole space to himself? This behavior is one of the clearest reminders that dogs never really leave behind their puppyhood. When they were young, huddling close to their litter mates wasn't just cute, it was survival. It kept them warm, it kept them safe. And even as they grow, that instinct doesn't vanish. When your dog chooses to cuddle against you, he's saying, "You are my pack. You are my safety." Isn't that powerful to be chosen like that silently every single night? For many people, especially those who live alone or who've lost someone dear, this kind of closeness feels like a gift you didn't even know you needed. Have you noticed how much calmer you sleep when your dog is pressed against you? How those small breaths and quiet shifts almost feel like a promise. I'm here, you're not alone. That isn't just habit. It's your dog weaving himself into your sense of home. And here's something to think about. When he chooses to sleep this way with you, it's not just affection, it's trust. He could sprawl, he could curl, he could flop belly up. But instead, he tells you, "We are in this together." Isn't it amazing how love doesn't always come in grand gestures, but sometimes in the gentle weight of a body leaning against yours? But there's another position far different from this quiet closeness that tells a story of energy, joy, and playfulness. It's the one that makes you laugh the moment you see it, because your dog looks like he's flying through the air, even while sound asleep. What does that pose reveal about his heart? And how could it be a sign of pure, youthful love? That's what we'll uncover next. And then there's the pose that never fails to bring a smile. The one where your dog stretches out flat on his belly. Front legs reaching forward, back legs kicked straight behind him like he's flying through the air. People call it the Superman pose, and if you've ever walked into the room to see your pup lying like that, you know exactly why. But here's the real question. What does this dog sleeping position mean beyond the laughs it gives you? Unlike the donut curl or the belly-up sprawl, this isn't a pose for deep, restful sleep. It's a position for quick naps, the kind where your dog wants to rest, but still be ready to jump up in an instant. Doesn't that tell you something about his state of mind? That even when he's resting, part of him is still alert, still eager for what comes next. The Superman pose is most common in younger dogs and puppies because it's easy, flexible, and let's face it, downright playful. But when your older dog takes it too, isn't it like catching a glimpse of the puppy still inside him? Think about it. Your dog doesn't just sleep this way to be comfortable. He does it because it's the perfect blend of rest and readiness, a way of saying, "I'm here, I'm happy, and I'm ready to play the moment you are." Couldn't you call that pure love, the kind that wants nothing more than to share joy with you, for you especially? If life feels quieter these days, watching your dog nap like Superman can be a reminder of something bigger. Isn't it amazing how even in sleep he can bring you laughter, lighten the room, and remind you what companionship really means? That this silly stretch isn't silly at all. It's a living spark of the bond you share. But not every sleeping pose is filled with this carefree energy. Some, like the side sleeping position, reveal something deeper, a sign of complete trust, a relaxation so profound that your dog surrenders himself fully to the space you share. And that quiet message may tell you more than any playful stretch ever could. Let's look at that next. There's something so peaceful about seeing your dog stretched out on his side legs, loose, breathing steady eyes half closed, as if he has finally let the whole world go. It looks ordinary, doesn't it? Just another nap. But what does this dog sleeping position really tell you about how he feels both about himself and about you? Could it be that this simple stretch says more than any wag or bark ever could? When a dog chooses to sleep on his side, it's a sign of deep relaxation. Unlike the donut, which is about protection, or the Superman, which is about quick recovery, the side sleeping position means your dog feels safe enough to let go completely. Think about that. Lying like this, he's not guarding his belly, he's not keeping his muscles ready to spring up, he's surrendering himself fully to rest. Doesn't that sound like the truest form of trust? For you, especially if you've lived through long nights where sleep never came easily, watching your dog drift into this kind of rest might stir something inside. Have you ever noticed how his breathing slows? How his body softens as if he's telling you, I don't have to worry because you are here. And doesn't it make you wonder if your dog can feel this kind of peace in your presence? What does that say about the bond you've built together? Side sleeping is also linked to affection. Dogs that sleep this way are often the ones who show the most love when awake, leaning into you for scratches, nudging you for attention, or following you room to room. Isn't it interesting how sleep mirrors life, that the way he rests reveals the way he loves? But of course, not every pose carries this sense of ease. There are times when your dog chooses a position that looks more rigid, more alert, almost as if he's ready to spring into action at any moment. Why would a dog hold himself tense, even when he's supposed to be resting? That's the question the next position, the lion pose, might answer. Have you ever noticed your dog lying with his head resting on his front paws, body tense, eyes half open, as if he's somewhere between sleep and guard duty? This is what many call the lion pose. At first glance, it might look calm, almost regal. But what does this dog sleeping position really mean for your companion? And why does it matter if he spends too much time in it? Unlike the side sleeper who melts into the floor, a dog in lion pose is not fully letting go. His muscles are slightly contracted, his breathing quicker, his mind still alert. He's ready to get up at the smallest sound. It's a position of rest without surrender. Doesn't that make you wonder, what is he waiting for? What is he guarding against even here in the safety of your home? Sometimes the answer is simple. After play or a meal, your dog may pause in this pose, dozing lightly before moving into deeper sleep. But if you notice he spends long stretches this way, it could signal something more. Is he restless? Is he uneasy? Could there be a stress you haven't noticed, or even a discomfort in his body, keeping him from sinking into true rest? These are questions worth asking, because dogs don't hide their emotions as well as we think, they just show them in silence. And here's the part that hits home. For many people, especially if you've carried the weight of nights filled with watchfulness yourself, nights when you couldn't relax because you had to stay alert, the lion pose might feel eerily familiar. Isn't it striking that your dog can mirror a kind of vigilance you once knew too well? Seeing him like this isn't just about noticing a sleeping style. It's about recognizing when he's telling you without words, I can't fully let go. But not all sleeping habits are signs of tension. In fact, some of the most touching ones reveal the opposite. A longing for closeness, for comfort, for carrying your presence with him, even while he rests. What does it mean when your dog chooses to sleep on your clothes, breathing in your scent, as if it's the only blanket he needs? Let's look at that next. Have you ever walked into your bedroom and found your dog curled up right on top of your shirt, your jacket, Maybe even the pile of laundry you left on the chair. At first you might laugh it off. Dogs do funny things, right? But then you wonder why your clothes. With all the soft spots in the house, what makes him choose the place that still carries your scent? What does this dog's sleeping position say about the way he feels toward you? For dogs' smell is more than memory. It's presence. Your clothes hold the strongest trace of you, and when your pup curls up on them, it's his way of keeping you close. Isn't that beautiful? Even when you step out, he clings to the comfort of your scent, like a lifeline that whispers, "You are still here." Have you noticed how he often does this when you've been gone longer than usual? Or on nights when you seem distracted? Could it be his way of telling you, "I miss you, but I know how to find you"? For someone who comes home to a quiet house, who sometimes feels the weight of silence more than they'd like to admit, this simple act can mean everything. Doesn't it feel like he's saying, "You're not alone, and neither am I"? That pile of clothes isn't just fabric to him. It's the bond he refuses to let go of even in sleep. And here's the thing. Some might call it clingy. Others might call it silly. But you know better. You know it's love in one of its purest, most honest forms. Your dog doesn't care if the shirt is clean or worn, if it smells fresh, or carries the sweat of a long day. To him, it's you. And what's stronger than that? But there's another behavior. One you've probably seen before bedtime that's less about love and more about instinct. A ritual passed down from his ancestors, wild and untamed. Why does your dog circle paw, or even dig, before finally lying down? That mystery takes us deeper back to the roots of survival. Let's uncover that next. Have you ever watched your dog turn in circles before lying down, maybe even scratch or dig at the blanket as if he's trying to build a little nest? At first, it looks funny, almost unnecessary. You might even ask yourself, why go through all that effort when the bed is already soft enough? But here's the truth. This isn't just random behavior. What does this ritual tell you about who your dog really is and where he comes from? Long before dogs slept on couches or beds, their ancestors lived in the wild. Circling and digging were survival moves. By trampling grass or scratching dirt, they made a safer, softer spot to rest sometimes, even creating a barrier against the cold. Doesn't it strike you that your dog in the safety of your living room still carries that ancient wisdom in his paws? Isn't it almost humbling to realize that when he spins and scratches, he's acting out thousands of years of instinct? But it's not just instinct. Have you noticed how your dog sometimes circles more when he's restless or when the house feels unfamiliar? Could it be his way of regaining a sense of control, of making the space truly his before he surrenders to sleep? And doesn't that remind you of yourself? How you might straighten the sheets or check the lock one more time before bed just to feel secure. In that moment, you and your dog aren't so different after all. For you, this behavior is a window into something deeper. It shows that even in the comfort of your home, your dog's heart carries a story older than memory, a story of survival, of finding safety, of claiming a place in the world. And isn't that the very thing he's doing with you every day, choosing you as his place of safety? Now, after seeing all these positions from the curled-up donut, to the playful Superman from the side sleeper's trust, to the circling instinct, a bigger question remains. What do they all add up to? What do these unspoken messages mean for the love and loyalty you share? Let's bring it all together in the final reflection. Now that you've seen them all, from the tight donut curl to the fearless belly-up sprawl, from the playful Superman to the ancient circling ritual, you know that every dog sleeping position carries a meaning far beyond what it looks like. haven't you started to see the pattern? Each pose is more than rest. It's your dog's way of speaking to you without words. And isn't it powerful to realize that love, trust, even worry can all be spoken in silence through the way your dog chooses to sleep? Think back to the times you've caught him pressed against your back at night. Wasn't that his way of saying, "I'm with you, you're my family"? Or the moments he flopped belly up in the middle of the room, legs sticking out so completely vulnerable that you couldn't help but laugh? Isn't it remarkable that behind the comedy, there was something even stronger, a declaration of trust, a bond deeper than instinct? For someone like you who has lived through long days and even longer nights, who sometimes wonders what companionship really means, your dog's sleep may be the truest answer. In his stillness, he tells you you're not alone. In his curl, he shows his need for safety. In his stretch, he reveals his joy. And in every single position, he is choosing you over and over again. Doesn't that change the way you look at him the next time he drifts off by your side? And yet, this isn't just about reading behavior. It's about seeing love in its purest form. Dogs don't complicate things. They don't pretend, they don't play games. They show you their heart in the simplest ways, through a nuzzle, a sigh, or the way they sleep as if you are the center of their world. Isn't that the kind of love we all hope to hold on to? So, here's my invitation. Tonight, when you see your dog settling down, don't just walk by. Pause, watch. Ask yourself, what is he telling me right now? Because once you learn to see it, you'll never look at his sleep the same way again. If this helped you understand your companion better, stay with us, because there's more to uncover. In the next video, we'll explore what those quiet sighs and subtle breaths in sleep really mean, another hidden language of love that might surprise you. Until then, tell me, how does your dog sleep at night? Share it below, I'd love to know. You probably think your dog sleeps in your bed just because it's soft, warm, or because they love being near you. And yes, those things are partly true. But what if I told you that every time your dog curls up next to you, they're speaking a language older than words? A message passed down through generations of wolves, through years of pain and healing, through moments of fear and absolute trust. Picture this. You wake up at 3 a.m., and there she is, pressed right against your chest. Her breathing is slow. Her body's finally relaxed. And you wonder, what does this mean? If you're a man over 60 sleeping beside a rescue dog you've come to love like family, this video is for you. Because when your dog chooses to sleep with you, it's not just affection. It's survival, loyalty, and a kind of emotional healing you might not have words for. So let's begin not with science, but with instinct. Because the way your dog sleeps beside you starts long before she ever knew your name. 1. Instinct, the ancient bond of survival. Long before we had memory, foam dog beds, electric blankets, and heated floors, dogs had only one way to survive the night stay close to their pack. That was the rule in the wild. Proximity meant protection. It wasn't a choice. It was instinct. When your dog jumps into bed and settles by your side, you might think it's just routine. But in their biology, that move says something deeper. You are my pack. This is my place of safety. Dogs are pack animals wired to stick together when vulnerable. And sleeping is one of the most vulnerable states they experience. Even today, those instincts haven't faded. Your dog might have lived in your home for years, spoiled with soft food and belly rubs, but deep in their brain, they're still that wild animal scanning for danger, craving closeness to someone they trust. That someone is you. There's a part of the dog's brain that lights up when they're with their trusted human. In a 2020 fMRI study, researchers found that dogs process their owner's scent in the part of the brain tied to emotions. That's not random. That's evolutionary. And if you've ever seen your dog sleep with one eye slightly open or one ear twitching at sounds, it's because they're not fully asleep. They still guard. They still listen. It's called the nictitating membrane, a third eyelid that lets them rest and stay alert at once. That protective instinct never truly shuts off. So when your dog curls into the crook of your knees or settles right against your chest, it's not just comfort. It's trust layered over instinct, a primal reflex shaped by thousands of years of survival. But instinct alone doesn't explain the emotion you feel when they finally let their body relax beside yours. That what you feel in your chest when they sigh in their sleep that comes from something deeper, something chemical, something emotional. And in our next part, we'll explore that invisible but powerful connection, what really happens inside both of you when your dog chooses you every single night. 2. Emotional chemistry, oxytocin and trust. You ever notice how your dog knows exactly when you're not okay? How they quietly climb onto the bed, press their body against yours, and just stay there? That's not training. That's chemistry. There's a reason it feels like they understand you better than anyone else. Because biologically they do. When your dog looks at you, really looks at you, something incredible happens. Their brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone that bonds a mother to her baby. And yours, it does the exact same thing. In fact, a 2025 study from Azabu University showed that mutual gaze between humans and dogs increases oxytocin by over 300% in humans. That's not coincidence. That's design. Dogs aren't just feeling love, they're physically building it every time they curl up next to you. Especially rescue dogs. Especially those who've been hurt, abandoned, or feared touch for years. When a dog like that chooses to rest their head on your chest, what they're really saying is, I trust you to keep me safe, even in my sleep. And you're not just giving warmth. You're receiving something in return: comfort, reassurance, emotional grounding. That bond heals both ways. There's an older man I once met, a Vietnam vet, who'd lost most of his family. Said he hadn't slept through the night in decades. But the night he adopted an anxious mutt with one eye and a trembling frame, everything changed. She laid beside me like I was her whole world, he told me. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to close my eyes. That's not just a story. That's medicine. And for many people who live alone, who carry invisible wounds, dogs become more than pets. They become therapists, guardians, companions in silence. Still, there's more to this story than bonding and hormones. Because when your dog chooses your bed, they're not just choosing you. They're claiming the space as theirs too. And in the next part, we'll explore what scent territory and your blanket say to your dog about safety and belonging. 3. Territory and scent, you are home. Let me tell you something surprising. Your dog doesn't love your bed because it's big, soft, or expensive. They love it because it smells like you. Dogs experience the world through scent. While we rely on sight, they rely on smell at a level we can't even imagine. Your pillow, it's a map of memories. Your blanket, a signal that says, you're safe here. There was a study where dogs were given 2 beds, one with their own scent and one with their humans. Almost every dog chose the one that smelled like their person. Why? Because your scent is their comfort zone. It tells them they belong. So when they climb into your bed, snuggle into that dent where your back curves, or rest their head where your scent lingers most, they're not just sleeping. They're anchoring themselves. They're saying, this is where I feel whole. That behavior is even more profound in rescue dogs. Think about it: from shelters full of stress and barking to a quiet home where your scent becomes their guide. I once met a woman who had rescued a Chihuahua with a history of abuse. For months he slept under the couch. Then one night he climbed into her bed and laid right across her feet. She cried, because in that moment he wasn't just resting, he was finally home. And you can use this insight too. If your dog struggles with separation, anxiety, try placing one of your worn shirts in their bed. That simple scent, your scent, can work wonders. It reminds them that you're close, even when you're not. But scent and territory aren't the only things pulling your dog to your side. There's something more physical, more ancient, something that goes beyond emotion or scent, something your body gives off, that they instinctively need. And in the next part, we'll explore the power of warmth and how your body becomes their personal safe haven every single night. 4. Warmth and comfort, biologic. Not just emotional. Let's talk about something simple. Warmth, that comforting heat you feel when your dog presses up against your back or tucks themselves behind your knees. It's not just affection, it's survival. Dogs are warm-blooded, but their body temperature runs higher than ours, somewhere between 101 to 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. They crave warmth not just because it feels good, but because it signals safety. In the wild, dogs huddled together at night, not out of love, but out of necessity. Cold meant danger. Heat meant survival. And that instinct hasn't gone anywhere, especially for smaller breeds like Chihuahuas or miniature poodles that warmth is everything. With their tiny frames and minimal body fat, they lose heat quickly, which means your body, your bed, your blankets, they become essential. I remember a man who told me, "My Chihuahua sleeps under the covers right against my stomach, like I'm a furnace." He laughed at first, but then said, "It's the only time she truly relaxes." That's not a habit. That's biology in motion. And it's not just about them. Studies show that people who sleep with dogs often feel safer, more relaxed, and sleep better overall. One 2024 study published in the Journal of Sleep and Health found that even light physical contact with dogs during sleep lowered cortisol levels and increased deep sleep cycles in humans. In short, warmth goes both ways. Maybe that's why so many people, especially those who live alone, say they can't fall asleep without their dog nearby. It's not just love. It's physical regulation of stress, emotion, and temperature. But there's one more layer to this. Your dog doesn't just sleep with you to feel warm or protected. Sometimes, it's because your bed gives them something they can't find anywhere else. A better view. A sense of watchfulness. A place where they feel fully in control. And in our final section, we'll explore why your bed becomes their lookout post and what that says about the way they protect you, even in your sleep. 5. Why your bed matters, safety. Height and night watch. There's one more reason your dog climbs into your bed, and it has nothing to do with comfort or even scent. It's about strategy. In the wild, height means power. The higher a dog sleeps, the more control they feel over their surroundings. It gives them a vantage point, a way to keep watch, to feel in command. Your bed, it's the perfect lookout tower. Raised soft and full of the scent of their most trusted human. It's not just comfortable, it's tactical. Some dogs, especially those with protective instincts, like to sleep facing the door. Some will place their back to you, head toward the hallway. Why? Because even when they rest, they're watching, guarding, making sure nothing reaches you without going through them first. There's research backing this up. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that while dogs can slightly disrupt sleep when sharing a bed, most owners still reported feeling emotionally safer. That feeling matters especially for people who live alone or have experienced loss. I met a retired firefighter who lost his wife of 40 years. He said the nights were unbearable. Then came Max, a stocky rescue mutt with a crooked ear. He sleeps across the foot of my bed, he told me, like a damn soldier. Since he came, I've never once woken up afraid. That's the power of shared space. Your bed becomes not just a place to sleep, but a place of mutual protection. You give your dog comfort. They give you security. Still, some people worry, should I really be letting my dog sleep with me? Is it good for either of us, long term? That's a fair question, and in our next video, we'll explore the science and safety of co-sleeping with dogs, when it helps, when it hinders, and how to find what's right for you and your pup. But for now, let's return to where we started with a quiet moment, a still bed, and the soft breath of the one who chose you. So now you know, when your dog sleeps in your bed, it's not just cute, it's not just routine. It's an ancient message wrapped in warmth and silence. It's instinct, loyalty, love, and healing all curled into one small body that found its place beside yours. From their wild ancestors to their broken pasts, from the moment they first saw you to the night they first dared to rest beside you, your dog has been carrying that message all along. I choose you. You are my home. And maybe that's why it feels different. Maybe that's why when you wake up and find them still there, pressed close, steady breath, rising and falling with yours, you feel something settle inside your chest. Peace, safety, connection. Not everyone gets chosen by a dog. Not every dog gives their sleep to just anyone. But if yours does, you're one of the lucky ones. So tell me, where does your dog sleep? Did you cry the first night they finally curled up next to you? Drop your story in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear it. And if you're wondering whether it's truly safe to share your bed with a dog, stick around. In our next video, we'll dig into what the research really says.